Hey, it's me, Marky Joe, here to entertain you. Yes, it is my show. It exists. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it.
Yeah. Yo, motherfucker! It's the Marky Joe, and for some reason today, I'm feeling especially fucking energetic. So let's get this shit out of the park. Bam! Whoops, hold on. Click. Okay, Chapter 19, Book 2, Decisive Battle. Oh shit, we are gonna be making some decisions about battles today. What a fucking twist in a Fire Emblem game. Okay, so, finally, we're in Akania's holy capital of Pales. This is where Hardin is. Oh shit, we're gonna finally fight Hardin and put an end to this bullshit that he's been putting up with us. That sentence didn't come out right. Anyway, that shit won't be easy though, because Hardin put a shitload of paladins, ballista, and bishops with long-range tomes just outside his castle. He's gonna fucking cockblock us from that door as much as possible. Now, something I want to talk about is, I really like the atmosphere that is painted around Pales in this, like, opening scene. The area is currently frighteningly silent, but what led up to this point was a bloody rebellion led by Medea, Astria's wife, tons of good soldiers getting murdered, and constant executions of anyone who dared speak against Hardin. This is some fucked up shit. So imagining the place being totally silent as Marth's team marches up the hill makes the image seem all the more eerie, like Pales has become a ghost town. So even though Medea's rebellion happened a while ago, Marth still thinks she's alive. He says that at the end of this dialogue, which means two things. One, she's definitely fucking alive, and two, we're gonna have to save her. So, the main thing about this chapter is that Akania Castle is heavily fucking guarded, and the dialogue explicitly tells you don't fucking charge in. Well, that's definitely good advice, but we're not gonna fucking listen to it. Instead, I'm gonna take Yumina and be like, hey, you know, Linda's too powerful with the Resire Tome, and she's max level, so I'm not gonna use her. And Samto, even though he has crazy good stats, can't survive all those enemies because they deal way too much damage. So let's just give Yumina the Resire Tome, the Life Orb, the Star Orb, and the Light Orb, and give her a whole bunch of stat ups, and hopefully it'll work out. This actually took a lot more planning than it seems. I had to figure out the optimal positioning to warp Yumina in, figure out, like, if I wanted to put, invest some stat ups into her, and, like, what she would do on the next few turns. This was really hard. Like, it took me, I probably would have saved time just playing the chapter normally. Unfortunately, despite there being a shitload of enemies in the mountain peak area, there's not much else going on in the map. I mean, there's some thieves threatening to destroy the one village that's there, but that's about it. A little fun fact about that village: if you killed Roshia in the previous chapter, and I think if you kill any of the Wolf Guard, then you just get, like, some stat up item. But if Roshia survives the previous battle, he will join you. And that's what's in the village, it's him. Now this whole setup with the fucking... Okay, so, firstly, these paladins all have 7 attack speed. The Resire Tome has 10 weight. You need 3 more attack speed than your enemy, which means that Yumina has to have maxed out speed in order to double these guys with Resire. So that's why I gave her the speed ring at the beginning of the chapter. I also gave her an angelic robe, because otherwise these guys kill her in one hit. The light orb prevents her from getting critical hit, because some of those paladins have killer lances. The star orb makes her Resire Tome infinite use, and also increases her growth rates crazy. And the life orb makes her heal back all of her health at the start of the turn. That's how much fucking preparation you need to do just to survive a single fucking turn against these enemies. Like, even if you have a character who's, like, fully maxed out, they're still gonna take a lot of damage from the enemy simply by virtue of just... Like, firstly, your caps aren't high enough to prevent you from taking damage from enemies so long as they're strong enough. And the other thing is that, look at how many fucking enemies there are. There's physical enemies, there's magic enemies, and there's ballista, there's long-range tomes. They throw just every fucking thing at you with this setup. But luckily, at the end of this chapter, Yumina manages to survive it all, and using her rescue staff, she pulls Marth over, and then we seize the chapter. Okay, so now that we've gotten the main shit out of the way, it's time for me to talk about the level design subject of the day. I hope you guys are ready for this one, because we're going to be talking about ambush spawns. So, firstly, what are ambush spawns? You know how in Fire Emblem, sometimes reinforcements will show up on the map? Like, they'll just pop up on the screen from, like, a fort, or, like, they'll come from off-screen. There's two different kinds of reinforcements. One is when they show up after the enemy's turn has ended, which is what people just call reinforcements. They're just called reinforcements. The other kind is when the enemies appear at the end of the player's turn and are able to act right after they appear, before the player can act again. This is what people refer to as ambush spawns. Now, naturally, ambush spawning is a controversial design in Fire Emblem because the player cannot act before the ambush spawns do. Plenty of players have faced the frustration of playing a chapter that they are otherwise winning, then being taken off guard by an ambush spawn that suddenly kills one of their characters, forcing them to restart. If you've played the tree chapter in Fire Emblem Awakening on hard mode, you understand this frustration a shitload because, like, the game tells you that ambush spawns are gonna happen, but not where. And it's not really clear, and it's fucking bullshit, and then you get shanked by one of the Pegasus riders that spawn all over the fucking map, and it's dumb. However, despite all this stigma against ambush spawns, there are ways you can make them fair. And sometimes they're preferable to normal reinforcements. Oh shit, Marky Joe with the plot twists on his opinions. My opinions are more nuanced than that. Than just like, this is bad or this is good. Depending on the context, you can make most shit work. I've experimented. Especially in my early days of making Fire Emblem hacks. So, here's one thing that makes ambush spawns preferable to normal reinforcements. Let's say the enemies reinforce from a fort tile. With normal reinforcements, they will spawn and then remain on that fort until the player either removes them or ends their turn and lets the enemy move off the tile. That means that if multiple reinforcements come from that fort, that means the player has to use at least 2 units to block the reinforcement point, 1 to kill the enemy, and another to move onto the spot before the end of player phase, because if they don't block that spot on the same turn, then another reinforcement will show up and undo their ability to block the reinforcement. Now, of course, this is assuming the enemy can even be killed in 1 round of combat. Since they're on a fort, it's going to be much more difficult because, well, they have increased defense, avoid, and they also heal back health. Now, however, with ambush spawns, the moment the enemy reinforces, they can act, which usually involves moving off of the fort to attack the player. This means that when it's the player's turn again, they can immediately jump on that reinforcement tile and just block any subsequent reinforcements from happening. So that's one benefit. The other benefit that ambush spawns have is that if you do them right, if you properly telegraph them and condition the player to expect them, it can make the player use their intuition more when playing your game. Because if you have distinct rules that indicate when ambush spawns happen, such as like, you know, every time there's a fort, there will be an ambush spawn most likely. The player will start to predict that more, and then they'll start to be really careful about it. And when they make a good call on an ambush reinforcement, I mean, this is just my personal opinion, but I find it very satisfying. When I can predict the game and kind of get into its head like that, and it pays off, that's really cool. Now, bear in mind that if you want these 2 advantages of ambush spawns, you absolutely must teach the player to expect them. Using cutscenes, whether they be from villages or the chapter opening, can help clue the player in on what to expect. But you can also achieve this through the gameplay with conveyance. Here's an example. Let's say the map is not very wide but has a lot of height. The player's units are at the bottom of the map, and the top half has the seize point and several forts. You could place an NPC unit in between all the forts, and then when the player ends their first turn, you can have the NPC unit get ambushed. This indicates to the player that, oh shit, that guy just got ambush spawned. I better be careful around forts. This can be achieved without a word of dialogue. You can also use an NPC to block a fort tile that spawns enemies to show the player that you can block reinforcements from coming. So long as you do this early enough in the game and keep the application of ambush spawns, you know, so long as the rules for ambush spawns are consistent, the player will have less reason to call bullshit when their frail dancer gets swarmed by surprise stairway fighters. Oh shit. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now there are Fire Emblem hacks that do ambush spawns, and I usually don't like the way they do it. In Dream of Five, the second chapter in the game, or it's the chapter that's not the first one you play. They have mercenaries show up that just kind of from the left side of the map, and it's just like, what the fuck? Where did you come from? And then they just fuck up your strategy. There's also the infamous Tale 3 from Olympian Nights, where once you talk to Wrath and recruit him onto your side, you get ambush spawned by a whole bunch of enemies, like, from all sides of the map. Archibald has told me, well, that's realistic because it's an ambush, but, like, it's hard to believe that an ambush would fucking occur in wide open plains. It's also just, like, the fact that they spawn from off-screen, like, does the off-screen area just not exist? Shit like that. Not good examples of good game design when doing ambush spawns. And it's a little extra insulting that, like, you know, to fix the problem, Archibald basically just made it exclusive to hard mode, as if telling players, well, if you can't predict these ambush spawns, then that means you're not skilled enough. You know, maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but there you go. Feel free to debate me on this shit, whatever, you know, I have very strong opinions and I will stand by them unless you have a perfectly valid point about it. But yeah, that's what I think about ambush spawns. So let's get back to this chapter. As if there weren't enough fucking enemies on the map, once you attack the boss or, like, attack certain enemies ambush spawn from all the fucking forts. Hey, what a fucking coincidence. Yeah, so I take these extra few turns to just have Yumina destroy the shit out of these enemies because, hey, she's fucking hungry for some EXP. And look at that, she's maxed out. And now that we've done everything in the chapter, I'm like, oh, let's check the vendor and the armory, and then it turns out to be jack shit. Like, none of this shit I want, except for the dragon killers, but I didn't feel like buying more than one. Trust me, we're not gonna be needing them for much longer. And oh shit, more ambush reinforcements, what the fuck? Yeah, they don't stand a chance. So Russia, the dude that we recruited from the village, he kind of sucks ass. I mean, that's kind of obvious considering he's a paladin that joins this late in the game, and his stats are okay relative to the enemy paladins, but by this point you have fucking overpowered paladins, like all shit at this point. So yeah, he's not really worth using. There's not much else to say about this chapter. Maybe I should have come up with another subject, but hey, we're about to finish up. So, Marth gets rescued there, and then we just end the chapter and, oh shit, it's Boa! Remember him? That one fucking druid bishop man who's just like, yo, I exist, and I'm kinda like Wendell, but worse. Well, it turns out that he basically started the entire fucking plot of Book 2. Yeah, so Nina had two choices on who she should marry because people were pressuring her to get married so that there would be a king for Akania. She had a choice between Marth or Hardin because they're both royalty. She couldn't marry Camus because the guy was fucking dead, and also because Camus was a knight and he worked for the evil guys. So Nina was like, you know what, fuck it, I don't want Marth to, like, lose his love with Sheeta, so I'm just gonna marry Hardin. And Hardin was really happy about this, you know? Hardin was like, oh, fuck. Nina got that ass. So he was all in on that shit, and, like, the fact that she chose him, that's, like, a really big compliment. Fucking royalty chooses you to fucking stick your dick right in their pussy. That's amazing. I mean, princess pussy, we all know, is, like, the best kind of pussy. Okay, I hate using that word. It sounds so fucking crass. But hey, turns out that Nina didn't like Hardin all that much. And Hardin, despite getting many hard-ons from Nina, you know, when he found out, he was just fucking devastated. So he went into his room to cry in his tiny little corner. And then eventually, you know, he just stopped coming out. So Garniff was like, hey, Hardin, you know, I know you're sad and shit, but here's this nice orb. It's very shiny. And Hardin's like, I love shiny things. And he grabs it and then suddenly, oh shit! Red eyes and fucking now Akini is no longer a kingdom but an empire. Because we all know that empires are evil and kingdoms are good, right? But yeah, so Boa's dead. He's telling his dying breaths here. And we gotta save Nina. Oh yeah, and we get some cool shit. Bye. I need someone to review my FE hack. He needs to be someone who won't cut me slack. It's Monkey Joe, he's arrived from his golden chariot, and down he walks